Imagine this. You're sitting in a classroom solving problems others struggle with effortlessly. Teachers praise your quick mind, parents beam with pride, and everyone expects greatness from you. You're labeled the smart one, the future leader, the one destined for success. But here's what nobody tells you about being intelligent. It might be setting you up for one of life's cruelest paradoxes. Sarah graduated valedictorian from MIT at 20, landed a six-figure job at a tech giant by 22, and by 25, she was leading a team of 30 engineers. On paper, her life looked perfect. But behind closed doors, Sarah spent most nights staring at her ceiling, feeling an inexplicable emptiness that no achievement could fill. Despite having everything society told her she should want, she felt more isolated, anxious, and depressed than ever before. Sarah's story isn't unique. It's becoming increasingly common among highly intelligent people. Recent studies reveal a disturbing trend. While intelligence protects against many life problems, it seems to create its own unique set of psychological challenges. The very cognitive abilities that make someone exceptional in academics or careers can become the source of profound emotional suffering. But here's where the story gets interesting, and why everything you think you know about intelligence and happiness might be completely wrong. The relationship between being smart and being depressed isn't what most people believe, and understanding the real truth could change how you view your own mind forever. Think about the smartest person you know. Are they genuinely happy, or do they seem to carry an invisible weight, overthinking every interaction, analyzing every possibility, questioning everything others accept without hesitation? Intelligence, it turns out, comes with hidden costs that nobody talks about in school. When you can see patterns others miss, when you can anticipate problems before they happen, when your mind processes information at lightning speed, these gifts become curses when turned inward. Your analytical mind doesn't just solve external problems, it creates internal ones. You begin to deconstruct your own happiness, questioning whether your achievements matter, whether your relationships are genuine, whether life itself has meaning. PTSD. Cruel irony is that the same mental capacity that allows you to excel in complex fields also enables you to see through comfortable illusions that keep most people content. While others live in blissful ignorance, intelligent people often exist in painful awareness. They see the futility in many human endeavors, the randomness in success, the inevitable decay that awaits everything we build. But before you assume this is just another story about how ignorance is bliss, I need to share something that will completely flip your understanding. Recent groundbreaking research involving over 250,000 participants has revealed something shocking about the relationship between intelligence and depression, something that challenges everything we've been told about smart people and mental health. The real question isn't whether smart people are doomed to be depressed. The question is, why do we believe this myth in the first place, and what does science actually reveal about the minds of highly intelligent individuals? If you've ever felt like your intelligence was more burden than blessing, if you've wondered why thinking deeply seems to lead to darker places, if you've questioned whether being smart makes happiness impossible, then what I'm about to reveal will reshape everything you believe about your own mind. Take a moment to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you're ready to discover the shocking truth about intelligence and depression, because what science has uncovered will challenge everything you think you know about the price of being smart. The myth that intelligence breeds misery has roots that run deeper than most people realize, and understanding these roots reveals something profound about human psychology itself. This belief didn't emerge from nowhere. It's been cultivated by centuries of romanticizing the tortured genius, from Vincent van Gogh's troubled artistry to Virginia Woolf's brilliant but tormented writings. But what if this entire narrative is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how intelligence actually works? The problem begins with what psychologists call sampling bias. The stories we hear about intelligent people are disproportionately about those who struggle. We don't hear about the countless highly intelligent individuals living fulfilling, balanced lives because their stories aren't dramatic enough to capture our attention. Media thrives on the narrative of the brilliant but broken, the genius who pays the price for their gifts. This selective storytelling creates a cognitive trap. When intelligent people encounter normal life challenges, stress, relationship issues, career uncertainty, they often attribute these struggles to their intelligence, rather than recognizing them as universal human experiences. They think, "I'm depressed because I think too much," when the reality might be entirely different. Consider the psychological concept of explanatory style, how we interpret the causes of events in our lives. Intelligent people often develop what researchers call a maladaptive explanatory style around their mental health. They believe their analytical nature destines them for unhappiness, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where they interpret normal emotional experiences through the lens of intellectual burden. The philosophical tradition has reinforced this misconception. From Ecclesiastes declaring, "In much wisdom is much grief," to Schopenhauer's pessimistic philosophy linking knowledge with suffering, Western thought has perpetuated the idea that awareness inevitably leads to despair. But these philosophical insights, while containing elements of truth about human condition, have been misapplied to personal psychology. Friedrich Nietzsche, often misquoted as supporting the "knowledge brings suffering" narrative, actually argued the opposite. He believed that genuine intelligence involves learning to affirm life despite its challenges, not surrendering to despair because of them. The truly intelligent person, according to Nietzsche, creates meaning rather than being crushed by meaninglessness. Modern psychology reveals why this myth persists so powerfully. The curse of knowledge makes it difficult for intelligent people to remember what it was like before they understood certain concepts. They can't return to the simplicity of ignorance, so they assume their current awareness is the source of their distress. But correlation isn't causation. Their distress may have entirely different origins. Research in cognitive psychology shows that highly intelligent individuals often experience what's called existential depression, not because their intelligence causes depression, but because they're more likely to engage with profound philosophical questions at earlier ages. When a teenager contemplates the meaning of existence, mortality, or cosmic insignificance, this can trigger depressive episodes. But the depression isn't caused by intelligence. It's caused by grappling with heavy concepts without adequate emotional or philosophical frameworks to process them. The neuroscience adds another layer to this understanding. Intelligent brains show higher activity in regions associated with rumination and self-reflection. But this same neural activity also correlates with creativity, problem-solving, and innovation. The key isn't the activity itself, it's learning to direct that mental energy constructively rather than destructively. Perhaps most importantly, the myth of intelligent misery often masks underlying issues that have nothing to do with cognitive ability. Social isolation, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, family dysfunction, or traumatic experiences can all contribute to depression in intelligent people. But because society has taught them that smart people are supposed to be miserable, they attribute their struggles to their intelligence rather than addressing the real causes. Carl Jung understood this pattern deeply. He observed that many of his patients who believed their intelligence was cursing them were actually suffering from what he called meaninglessness, not because they were too smart to find meaning, but because they hadn't learned to create authentic meaning for themselves. Their intelligence was actually their potential salvation, not their doom. The real problem isn't that intelligent people are destined for depression. The real problem is that they've been taught to expect it, trained to pathologize their own cognitive gifts, and socialized to believe that depth of thought necessarily leads to depth of despair. When intelligent people buy into the myth that their minds are destined for misery, the consequences ripple through every aspect of their lives in ways that often remain completely invisible, even to themselves. These hidden effects create a cascade of self-sabotaging behaviors that actually manufacture the very depression they fear is inevitable. The first invisible consequence is what psychologists call intellectual learned helplessness. When you believe your intelligence inherently predisposes you to unhappiness, you stop trying to cultivate genuine well-being. Why invest in happiness strategies if your very cognitive architecture makes joy impossible. This resignation becomes fair prison where intelligent people trap themselves, convinced that their analytical nature dooms them to perpetual dissatisfaction. This mindset creates a particularly insidious form of identity fusion where being smart becomes synonymous with being troubled. Intelligence transforms from a tool into a personality trait, and worse, from a personality trait into a pathology. People begin introducing themselves, even unconsciously, through the lens of their supposed curse. I overthink everything. I can't just be happy like normal people. My mind won't let me rest. The social consequences prove equally devastating. When intelligent individuals believe they're inherently different and troubled, they often withdraw from meaningful connections. They assume others won't understand their complex inner world, creating the very isolation that actually does contribute to depression. It's a cruel irony. They avoid the very relationships that could provide evidence against their misconceptions about themselves. This social withdrawal has neurological implications. Human brains are wired for connection, and isolation triggers stress responses that can indeed lead to depressive symptoms. But when this happens, the intelligent person attributes their depression to their intelligence rather than their isolation, reinforcing the destructive cycle. The professional realm suffers too. Many highly intelligent people develop what researchers call achievement anxiety. They become paralyzed by the fear that their success is somehow tainted by their supposed mental fragility. They might avoid challenging opportunities, thinking, "I can't handle the stress because I'm already prone to depression." This self-limitation can lead to underachievement, which then provides false evidence that intelligence really does create problems. Perhaps most tragically, the myth prevents intelligent people from seeking appropriate help when they do experience genuine mental health challenges. Because they've been taught that depression is simply the price of being smart, they often don't recognize when they're dealing with treatable conditions. Clinical depression, anxiety disorders, ADHD, or other mental health issues get dismissed as just how smart people are, delaying proper diagnosis and treatment. The philosophical consequences run even deeper. When you believe intelligence equals suffering, you begin to devalue your own cognitive gifts. You might dampen your natural curiosity, avoid deep thinking, or feel guilty about intellectual pursuits. This creates an internal war where the very aspects of yourself that could contribute most to the world become sources of shame and self-doubt. The creativity research reveals another hidden cost. Studies show that when people believe creativity and intelligence come with mental health risks, they actually suppress their own innovative thinking. The fear of the tortured genius stereotype causes people to avoid the very mental processes that could lead to breakthrough insights and genuine satisfaction. On a broader scale, this myth contributes to what sociologists call tall poppy syndrome, the tendency to cut down those who excel. When society expects intelligent people to be miserable, it creates permission structures for others to dismiss their achievements or minimize their struggles. Of course they're successful, but look how unhappy they are, becomes a way to avoid confronting one's own potential. The economic implications are staggering when viewed collectively. How many innovations never happen because potential creators believe intelligence is a burden? How many problems remain unsolved because smart people are too busy managing their supposedly inevitable depression to focus on solutions? The relationship consequences extend beyond romantic partnerships. Intelligent people often struggle to form mentoring relationships or seek guidance because they've internalized the belief that being smart means being fundamentally alone with their struggles. They miss opportunities for growth and connection that could dramatically improve their life satisfaction. Most insidiously, the myth creates what psychologists call metacognitive distortions, distorted thoughts about thinking itself. People begin monitoring their own mental processes for signs of the intelligent person's curse, creating anxiety about their anxiety, depression about their supposed predisposition to depression. These invisible consequences compound over time, creating life patterns that do indeed correlate intelligence with unhappiness, not because intelligence causes unhappiness, but because the belief in that causation creates self-fulfilling prophecies that manufacture the very outcomes people fear most. The revolution against this destructive myth begins with confronting one uncomfortable truth. Science has completely debunked the idea that intelligence predisposes you to depression. In fact, the largest and most rigorous studies reveal precisely the opposite. Intelligence often serves as a protective factor against mental health problems. The breakthrough came from researchers who recognized that previous studies claiming smart people were more depressed suffered from fatal flaws. They had been studying highly select groups, like Mensa members, who had actively sought out intelligence testing, often because they were already experiencing psychological difficulties. It's like studying fish by only looking at aquariums and concluding that all fish live in glass boxes. When scientists examined over 250,000 people from the general population, controlling for sampling bias and using proper comparison groups, the results shattered the conventional wisdom. Highly intelligent individuals showed 33% lower rates of post-traumatic stress disorder and 31% lower rates of general anxiety compared to average intelligence groups. The protective effect was so strong that it couldn't be explained by chance. But here's where the rebellion gets radical. Even when intelligent people do experience depression, it's almost never because of their intelligence. Instead, research reveals that depression in smart people typically stems from the same sources that affect everyone else: social isolation, lack of purpose, relationship problems, or biochemical factors. The difference is that intelligent people have been trained to misattribute their struggles to their cognitive abilities. The first step in liberation involves what cognitive therapists call cognitive diffusion, separating your thoughts from your identity. Your intelligence is a tool you possess, not a personality trait that defines your emotional destiny. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm depressed because I think too much," challenge that assumption. Ask instead, what specific factors in my life might be contributing to these feelings? The second revolutionary insight comes from positive psychology research. Intelligence, when properly understood and applied, actually enhances life satisfaction rather than diminishing it. Intelligent people who learn to use their cognitive abilities for meaning-making, problem-solving, and creative expression report higher levels of fulfillment than those who turn their analytical powers against themselves. This requires developing what researchers call metacognitive awareness, becoming conscious of how you think about thinking. Instead of allowing your mind to ruminate destructively, you can learn to direct your analytical abilities toward constructive ends. The same mental capacity that can create elaborate worst-case scenarios can be redirected to develop sophisticated solutions and insights. The social dimension of liberation involves challenging the cultural narratives that romanticize suffering in intelligent people. When someone suggests that being smart inevitably means being troubled, respond with evidence. Point to the countless examples of brilliant individuals who live rich, satisfying lives. Refuse to participate in conversations that perpetuate these harmful stereotypes. Practically, this means actively cultivating relationships with other intelligent people who model healthy approaches to their cognitive abilities. Seek out communities where intellectual curiosity is celebrated without the expectation of emotional turmoil. Online forums, local meetups, or professional organizations can provide environments where being smart is associated with growth and contribution rather than suffering. The existential component requires reframing your relationship with life's big questions. Instead of seeing your tendency to contemplate deep issues as a burden, recognize it as a gift that allows you to engage with existence in profound ways. The goal isn't to stop thinking about meaning and mortality, it's to approach these questions with curiosity rather than dread. Perhaps most importantly, liberation requires releasing the identity of the tortured intellectual. This might feel threatening, because suffering can become strangely comforting when it's the only lens through which you understand yourself. But genuine intelligence includes the wisdom to recognize when beliefs are limiting you rather than serving you. The ultimate rebellion is choosing to use your intelligence in service of your own flourishing. Instead of analyzing all the ways life could go wrong, apply that same analytical power to identifying what would make your life meaningful and satisfying. Instead of ruminating on problems, use your cognitive abilities to generate solutions. Intelligence isn't your burden, it's your superpower. The tragedy isn't that smart people suffer, it's that they've been convinced they're supposed to. The most powerful realization isn't just that intelligent people aren't doomed to depression. It's understanding why this myth exists in the first place and what its persistence reveals about human psychology. The real truth will completely transform how you understand not just intelligence, but the very nature of human flourishing. The myth persists because it serves hidden psychological functions for both intelligent and average people. For those who struggle academically or professionally, believing that smart people pay a price in happiness provides comfort, a form of cosmic justice that makes their own limitations feel less painful. It's easier to accept being average if you believe excellence comes with inevitable suffering. For intelligent people themselves, the myth often serves as a sophisticated form of self-protection. If you're destined to be miserable because of your intelligence, then any actual depression you experience isn't really your fault. It's just the price of being gifted. This removes responsibility for addressing real issues while providing a tragic but noble identity. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The research shows that intelligence, when combined with emotional wisdom, creates the optimal conditions for human thriving. The problem was never intelligence itself. It was the lack of emotional education for intelligent people. Schools teach smart students advanced mathematics and sophisticated analysis, but never teach them how to process complex emotions or build meaningful relationships. The studies that show intelligence protecting against anxiety and PTSD reveal something profound. Cognitive ability, properly applied, is one of humanity's greatest tools for resilience. Intelligent people can analyze their emotional patterns, understand psychological principles, and develop sophisticated coping strategies, but only when they stop believing their intelligence is the problem. This leads to perhaps the most important insight of all. The relationship between intelligence and happiness is entirely dependent on how you conceptualize and use your cognitive abilities. Intelligence becomes a liability only when it's turned against itself in endless rumination and self-criticism. But when intelligent people learn to channel their mental resources toward growth, connection, and contribution, they often achieve levels of satisfaction that others can barely imagine. The neuroscience supports this completely. The same brain regions associated with high intelligence, enhanced prefrontal cortex function, increased connectivity between brain networks, are also linked to greater emotional regulation capacity when properly developed. Your smart brain isn't working against you. It's simply powerful machinery that needs to be operated skillfully. The philosophical implications are staggering. If intelligence isn't a curse, then the tragic romantic notion of the suffering genius becomes a story we tell ourselves to avoid the harder work of actually developing wisdom alongside intelligence. True intellectual courage isn't found in embracing misery as the price of awareness. It's found in using awareness to create more beautiful and meaningful lives. This realization demands a fundamental shift in how intelligent people see themselves and their potential. Instead of asking, "How do I cope with the burden of being smart?" the question becomes, "How do I fully utilize this remarkable capacity for understanding and creation?" The most liberated intelligent people understand that their cognitive abilities are tools for enhancement, not sources of suffering. They use their analytical skills to understand themselves and others more deeply, their pattern recognition to identify opportunities for growth and contribution, and their creative capacities to build lives of genuine meaning and impact. The final truth is this: if you're intelligent, you're not cursed, you're equipped. Your mind isn't your burden. It's your greatest asset for creating the life you actually want to live. The choice is entirely yours. Continue believing in a myth that limits your potential, or embrace the evidence-based reality that intelligence properly understood and wisely applied, is one of the greatest gifts you could possess for building a truly extraordinary life. If this perspective shifted something fundamental in how you see yourself and your potential, let me know in the comments. Your intelligence isn't holding you back. It's waiting for you to finally let it serve you.